Here is why dinner takes so long. It is not the recipe and it is not the stove. It is the vegetables still sitting on the board. You chop slowly. One Skillshare class fixes that in 12 minutes. 4 cuts, 1 grip, and the knife already sitting in your drawer. 74,000 students have run through it. This is Knife Skills, a mini class to chop like a chef. Taught by Elana Karp. 6 lessons, 12 minutes start to finish, and exactly 1 piece of equipment, the chef's knife you already own. Here is the plan, the grip, and what your other hand is doing, the 4 cuts on real ingredients, the onion at the center of it, and the verdict from 74,000 students. It opens with safety, and the first instruction is for the hand not holding the knife. Curl every finger under and hold the food with your knuckles. It feels strange for about a minute. Then, if the blade slips, it meets a knuckle instead of a fingertip. Then the tool itself. One good chef's knife, she says, will handle almost anything you cut. Good weight, smooth blade, no drawer full of gadgets required. She names 4 parts of it: the point, the tip, the base, and the handle, and every instruction after this refers back to them. Then the one habit to change. Hold only the handle and the blade wobbles. Pinch the base between thumb and forefinger, and the blade goes exactly where you aim it. So who is teaching this? Elana Karp, head chef at Plated. A cook-at-home dinner service that ships across the whole country, which means her working day is not plating for a dining room. It is prep at volume every single day of the week. The background fits. She studied cooking in France, then worked through catering, cooking classes, food education, nutrition programs, and kids' cooking camps. At Plated, her team develops 11 new recipes every single week. And that is why this class is worth 12 minutes of your evening. 11 recipes a week is an enormous number of onions. What she hands over here is the fastest, safe way through them, filmed at the bench where she actually does it. Inside, it is 12 minutes across 6 lessons. 2 set you up, 3 teach the cuts, and 1 sends you to the board with an assignment. That is the entire structure, and there is nothing else in it. At this length, the editing matters more than the curriculum. There is no room for a welcome video, no room for a tour of her kitchen, and no room for a lesson about why knife skills are important. She says that once in the introduction and then picks up a knife. Nothing here is filler because nothing here could afford to be. One lesson gets the lion's share. Lesson 4 runs 5 minutes and 6 seconds, over 40% of the whole class. The dice is the hard part, so the dice gets the time. The cutting starts with celery and the choice is deliberate. Celery curves, so every slice comes off as a half moon. A chef calls that a demi-lune. It also means you can see instantly whether your slices are even, which is the whole point of practicing on it first. And underneath that first cut is the motion that carries the entire class. Anchor the rounded tip of the blade on the board and leave it there. The handle rocks down and pushes forward while your other hand feeds the celery in. The knife never leaves the board, the food comes to it. Then the bell pepper for the julienne. Stand it up, slice the 4 walls off rather than having it, press each wall flat and run that same rocking cut down it into long, even strips. Which brings us to the onion and the trick she calls one of the most helpful things in knife skills. It starts before any cut. Trim the hairs off the root but leave the root itself whole. Take the top off, have it straight through that root and peel. Because the root is what holds everything together for the next 3 cuts. Root towards you, hand flat on top. Slice parallel to the board twice and stop about 3/4 of the way in. 3 layers and nothing has separated. Then turn the cut side towards you and drive the point of the knife in, rolling the blade down to the board in close vertical lines. Still 3/4, still joined at the back. The closer these cuts sit, the smaller your dice will be. And now the payoff. Turn it back and use the rocking slice from lesson 3 straight across the grid you have cut. The layers fall away already square. 3 cuts in order and the onion dices itself. Fast enough, she notes, that the crying never starts. The last cut is mincing garlic and it opens with the tip everybody steals. Peeling a clove by hand is a small misery, so lay it flat, rest the widest part of the blade on top, make a fist and press down firmly. The clove pops straight out of its paper, half minced already. Then a rough chop to get it going, sweep it into a pile and mince with the lower part of the blade. Your free hand presses the tip down into the board while the handle rocks across. It scatters, you sweep it back, you keep going. Mincing is simply the patient cut. And she stops to give one warning most cooks never hear. When you use the blade to push the pile back together, never do it with the knife upright. Tilt it over and the edge stays safe. Lesson 5 is knife care, and she files sharpening under safety rather than maintenance. There is one test for it and you already own the equipment. Try to slice through the skin of a tomato. If the blade squashes it instead of gliding through, it is time to sharpen. And her advice on how is refreshingly honest. Most people do not own a sharpening stone, and most of the people who do are not confident using one. So take the knife to your local kitchen supply store and let somebody who does this properly handle it. The celery, the pepper, the onion, and the garlic were only ever the practice material. What you actually leave with is four motions: slice, julienne, dice, and mince. Which is where the class project comes in, and the brief is as small as it sounds. Get the same vegetables, play the lessons, cut along with her, and make the same shapes. Then photograph your board and upload it to the project gallery. The project is the practice. And people genuinely do it, which for 12-minute class is worth noting. Her own dicing walkthrough leads the gallery with 161 likes. Underneath, it sits students posting their own boards. 132 likes, 76:57. Her one instruction for afterwards is simply to practice on as many different ingredients as you can. Carrots, other root vegetables, whatever the recipe asks for, because the four cuts do not change with the vegetable. Only your hands get quicker. So does it deliver? 91% of students said the class met or exceeded their expectations. 28% said it exceeded them outright. And on the most liked board, clarity of instruction takes the top spot with 872 votes. Helpful examples and engaging teacher follow it. Actionable step sits fourth, which is close to the ideal profile for a class this short. Be clear and show me. Look one place further down and there is a quieter compliment. Audio and video quality sits fifth on that board. In a class that is almost entirely a camera pointed at a cutting board, nobody complaining about the camera is the point. So who is it for? Anyone who has owned a chef's knife for years and still holds it by the handle alone. Anyone whose dinner takes an hour, 40 minutes of which happen before the pan is even hot. And anyone who cries at onions. Skip it if you want knife reviews, sharpening technique in depth, or butchery. Because under the celery, the pepper, the onion, and the garlic, every one of those 12 minutes is quietly arguing the same thing. Four cuts, every ingredient. That is the whole claim, and it holds up because almost nothing you will ever prep falls outside slicing, julienning, dicing, or mincing. Learn four motions once and the ingredient stops mattering. The knife stops being intimidating too. So the verdict, worth 12 minutes. Comfortably, you leave with four cuts, one grip that makes them safe, the onion trick, and a genuinely useful test for a dull blade. That is a real return on 12 minutes. It is included with a Skillshare membership and there is a free trial, so the 12 minutes really are the entire price. One last thing before you go, and it matters. Click the link in the description and it takes you straight there free through Skillshare. Then do the project. Buy one onion, follow lesson 4 and dice it along with her. That is the assignment. Practice, as she says, makes perfect. See you in the next review.